Welcome to Dr. Jester Rants, and I'm gonna rant about this. From why? Why, oh my, why me in this heat? Oh, sorry, why not? Southern Israel comes under Gaza rocket fire during White House ceremony. My apologies, it depends on when you're going to watch this. This is probably, I'm going to leave it for later, in case I need content for the channel and I got nothing, mostly because I'm probably dying somewhere in my home due to the goddamn heat exhaustion. Because, oh bloody fucking hell, it's hot in here! Hotter than Satan's bunghole. And I mean, I'm sweating my balls here. I have a very serious case of swamp ass right now. And I'm dying. I've got my computer fans all blasting out with a very high speed, blasting up on my face, and I'm nearly dying because the CPU heat is blasting up on my face. Due to the fans configuration, it's great for the computer, but not great for me. See, don't ever tell me I don't sacrifice myself for you guys. Holy shit, I'm dying here. I need to get out and get this one done with, because it's so hot. Palestinian militants launched 2 projectiles into cities of Ashdod and Ashkelon, wounding 3 people in an attack that was timed to coincide with the signing of the normalization agreements between Israel and the UAE, and Bahrain. Like I said, that region is full of anti-Semites, and these people, the Gazans and, well, Palestinians in general, they do not want peace with Israel. So much so that Israel has offered everything they wanted in, I think, 2005. I don't know, in a couple of years ago, I think more than a decade ago, they offered everything they wanted. And what did they do? No. They offered part of Jerusalem as capital, and they said, no. The only thing that Israel wanted was recognition, to recognize it as a Jewish state, but apparently they didn't want that. They want the whole shebang. They want the whole state of Israel. They do not want just the West Bank or the Samaria. God damn it, the heat is so much that I even forgot the name of the region. It's a Hebrew region. It has been and has always been historically Jewish region. Samaria, Judea and Samaria. There you go. See, my brain is and I don't take any medication for my ADHD, so okay, I'm trailing off. Where was I? Oh, right. The heat. No, I wasn't talking about the heat. I was talking about Israel. Uncomfortable laughs. Okay. They are not interested in that. They just prefer to have war and kill Jews. That region is absolutely anti-Semitic, to the point that only recently that they've managed to make peace after 26 years of attempts on getting this normalized. Since the last country had normalized relations with Israel in that region. To the point that I'm gonna make is that Mein Kampf from Hitler is one of the best sold books in that region. That's how much they hate Jews. In fact, they even aligned themselves with Hitler back then. Yasser Arafat, I think the uncle of Yasser Arafat, was also best buddies with Hitler, and one of the reasons why they wanted to expedite the execution of Jews back in World War II. And Yasser Arafat is not actually Palestinian, he is in fact Egyptian, which is pretty much the ancestry of most of the Palestinians in there. They are not actually Palestinians, they are not actually from that region, they are in fact mostly from the surrounding regions like Syria and Jordanian. In fact, Jordanian was supposed to be the Palestinian state, but I digress. Let's keep on reading before I drag on this for too long and I want to kill myself due to this heat. According to the IDF, one of the 2 rockets was successfully intercepted by the Iron Dome missile defense system. That was amazing. the invention of the Iron Dome. The attack was apparently limited to coincide with the ceremony of the White House to normalize relations between Israel and the Gulf states. According to reports, damage was caused to property in Ashdod, and 3 people were wounded by broken glass. A 62-year-old man was in moderate conditions. A 28-year-old man sustained light wounds. A woman was also wounded and taken to Asuta Hospital in the city. 4 more people were treated for shock by Magen David Adom personnel shortly after the attack. When we arrived, there was commotion and destruction, said medics. Shahar Edri and Aharon Weinstein, who arrived at the scene to treat the wounded. 2 wounded people were lying on the ground, including a 62-year-old man who suffered shrapnel wounds to his limbs and chest. We provided him with life-saving medical care and evacuated him to the hospital. The medics added another 20-year-old man suffering injuries, shard of glass. Okay, let's move on before I drag on, because I want to comment about this. Israel police said that several sappers arrived at the scene, striking Ashdod. Police forces closed off the scene in the incident. Okay. The attacks occurred as UAE Foreign Minister Sheikh Abdullah bin Zayed Al Nahyan was delivering his remarks at the White House during the signing of the accords. The treaties are viewed by Hamas terror group, which rules Gaza, as a betrayal of the Palestinian cause. That cause has been dragging on, and the cause that they want is complete and total control of Israel. The normalization agreement between Israel and the United Arab Emirates and Bahrain are not worth the ink which they were written, says the Palestinian people, who are committed to continuing the struggle until the rights are achieved. The rights they want is to completely control the entire region. They want to kill Jews. That's what they want. What deals with the agreement is that they were never drafted, said Hamas shortly after the attack. Hamas deputy leader Salah al-Aruri said, ignoring very important issues will not save the US President Donald Trump and Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Arab organizations have shown that they are ready to turn to the White House at any moment. The position of the Arab League is disappointing, and it is very unfortunate. Its disintegration has allowed American pressure to bear fruit. Okay, now that this one is done, I can talk about until the end of this video, and then submerge myself in some liquid and try to survive this heat wave. Anyway, as you can see, the Palestinians are mostly interested in killing people. They do not launch these rockets at, at military installations or military vehicles. They do not care. They actually purposely try to target civilian buildings. In fact, they even purposely try to target buildings like schools and other things like that. They want to kill and cause the biggest quantity of civilian injuries or deaths as they possibly can. And in fact, they will release and launch those rockets from areas of houses or schools, hospitals, mosques, and other places, even though they have plenty of space to actually launch those rockets outside of those regions. Why they do that? Because they then can claim when Israel bombs those places that Israel is purposely targeting civilians, when in fact that's exactly what they are doing. It's some sort of way of using propaganda for their cause, and they have successfully done that because there's a lot of people who actually believe on those fuckers. But here we are. In fact, I'm gonna go on and say here that the Arab League has kind of sided against them after signing this agreement, this treaty between UAE, Bahrain, and Israel. They kind of showed something that I haven't seen ever from that. They finally said and rebuffed the Palestinian organization. Maybe it's finally a shift, a shift on the wind. Finally, who knows? Maybe this is definitely evidence that peace will finally reign in that region. and they would probably finally join and align themselves against Iran, because Iran keeps funding terror in that region. I'm not saying Saudi Arabia doesn't and the other countries in that region doesn't, but at least it would decrease at least 50% on the terror organizations worldwide if they ally themselves against Iran, because Iran is funding Hezbollah and Hamas, for instance, as examples. Anyway, thank you for watching. See you on my next video, and if I don't die by then, see you soon. Good night.